And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that brutal OST. As predictions in the chat are open. They're open so you can place your bets on who you think is going to be this week's finalist. Will it be our Terran or our Protoss? As we are here in the semifinals of ESL Open Cup Asia number 204. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player, the Red Terran, representing Dragon Kaiser Gaming. He just took down Solar 2-0. It is Oliveira. Here we go again. We've been here witnessing the run of Classic, just tearing through all the Zerg players. Took down DRG, took down Dark, but now he's up against a Terran. And we'll see if his PVT is up to snuff, because Oliveira likewise has been on fire. For Oliveira to 2-0 Solar, that is an impressive feat. But again, now his TvP also going to be put to the test. Let us go. Now, we have seen Oliveira actually be quite experimental in Terran versus Protoss recently. I always bring it back to a couple of weeks ago in WTL, where Oliveira did go for the proxy double factory against Trigger on this map on Oceanborn. Clearly that's not happening here. There's no proxy whatsoever, but that does show us, that does tell us that Oliveira, again, he's willing to be more exploratory, he's willing to be more aggressive and even cheesy at times in this matchup. So bear that in mind coming into this series. For now, it is going to be a Rax Expand. Oh, Classic being so annoying. Oh my god. Barely doesn't get a kill on the SCV, does escape in the end, forcing a second SCV down onto the low ground. And again, we have an economic opener. Rax Expand, only a single gas geyser from Oliveira. Everything looking normal, everything looking as it should. Reaper is going to be moving out, zooming across said map. Meanwhile, back at home, Classic just going for a Gate Cyber Expand. Likewise, not really doing anything out of the norm. We have our tech of choice, so it is going to be a Stargate, and I appreciate that. In recent weeks and recent months, it feels like the Stargate opener has fallen out of favor in this matchup. We've seen a lot of Blink Stalker based play, a lot of Twilight Councils, a lot of Robo as well. So I'm happy to see a Stargate once again. It feels like it's been far too long, for myself at least. With the Stargate opener, we can go in a couple of different directions. We can either go into Phoenixes for map control, or we can go Oracles for Harass into Blink to get into those Blink Stalkers later on for that map control instead. So one or the other, Oracles or Phoenixes, which will we go for? Back at home, Oliveira just getting into a safety opener himself. Again, it was economic. We have the bunker on the low ground. We have Cyclones on the way just to secure ourselves, just in case an Oracle were to show up. So Oliveira just playing safe and sound. Reaper still trying to find a way into these bases. Alas, he is zoned away, and we have our answer. It is not an Oracle, it is in fact going to be Phoenixes. Phoenixes are on the way. It looks like the Adept is going to be recalled back home. Sorry, I was just closing the door. I should say, sorry, opening the door. Was getting a little bit stuffy in here. But yeah, we have, of course, our tech of choice, Stargate into Phoenixes, Robo on the way behind this. This is looking like a more traditional Classic Phoenix Colossus opener here from our Protoss. Things are looking, yeah, a lot more old. I say old school, like a couple of months ago. I mean, the meta does shift quite quickly here in StarCraft, and it wasn't that long ago, but it doesn't feel like that long ago when Phoenix Colossus was the meta in the last map pool. Immortals are on the way, there's Robotics Bay, Colossus are going to be on the horizon as well. So again, Phoenixes for map control and Colossus to deal with the ground army. This should be leading into a third. So very tech heavy, very passive play here from Classic. As a result, Oliveira is free to do whatever he wants, and back at home, just getting into his standard 1-1-1 follow-up, into his 3-1-1 setup here with 3 Raxes. We do have a Mind Drop getting ready to go in towards the natural. Classic not quite in position. He only invested, he cut corners, only 2 Phoenixes by the way. So very greedy stuff here at a Classic. Just cutting Phoenixes early on, getting the bare minimum, trying to rush into that third and the Colossus. just now making his third Phoenix. As a result, he just hasn't had the opportunity, just doesn't have the army even to harass across the map, do much of anything. And we're just waiting for Oliveira to pull the trigger. Ideally, he wants to try to pull apart the attention of Classic and have something else to try to, again, grab said attention. Hallucination comes in, we do get eyes on all the production, Interference Matrix on the way, which is going to work wonders here because he's up against a Colossus heavy composition. Phoenix is there looking for any kind of drop play, now working on a fourth Phoenix. But the medevac has not been seen, has not been scouted. And Classic is getting his third up and running. Everything, we're just kind of easing our way in towards the mid game. Everything looking pretty normal so far. I mean, again, we have Classic being greedy and so far not being punished for it. Likewise, Oliveira's been left to his own devices. We still don't really have a sign of a third CC yet, but Oliveira should be working in that direction. And there it is. Third CC is now thrown down. So he's not going for a 2-base all-in. He is expanding behind this push, and he should be pushing. Like with Stim, Combat Shields, Concussive Shell, +1, with everything finishing up. Oliveira should be moving out. Here comes that move out. Again, being very careful, hoping to come across an observer. Medevac still hasn't gone in, has been so patient with it, but the Phoenixes, they want that Raven. They do scout the move out, and they catch some of these reinforcements. Widowmine's going to be going down, Marines as well. Meanwhile, Oliveira, he's committed. Observer does spot the army. Classic responds at the same time. Mind Drop does come into the natural and towards the main base. So far, only one probe goes down. Meanwhile, we do get into the main. We do force a reaction. Observer has been spotted. 3 probes go down. Oliveira still looking for a way in, but pushing into 3 Colossi. I understand he has Disable, that's true, but that's still a lot of firepower. Oliveira is going to pivot away. Oh, the medevac is barely going to be saved. Mind Shot goes off, not bad, on the Phoenixes. And from here, Oliveira should be backing off. He doesn't have to commit. Remember, he's expanding. He's not all in, taking a third base. And soon going for a bit of multi-prong harassment here. He's going for a double drop towards the left-hand side. His main army here towards the right, keeping the attention on the right-hand side on this army. Oh, but the good force fields, we engage. Raven does barely disable 2 of those Colossi, but there's barely anything left. The damage has been done, and Oliveira is going to be cleaned up. Classic completely shuts this down. Again, the disables were just too little too late. We do go for the double drop in towards the natural. We get a couple of worker kills. We can maybe go for the robo, but there's just not much here. Oh, the overcharge. Try to keep it alive. Mind Shot's going to be going off, but yeah, the army has made it back in time. Decent Mind Shots, but that was a pretty expensive loss for Oliveira. I'm afraid to look here as we even chase down some of these medevacs. Oh. And the medevacs, they will not escape. One of them might. And here comes the rest of the army. Looking at the battle report, of course. What did we lose? 22 Marines, 9 Marauders, Cyclones, medevacs as well. And we traded with a Gateway army. The Robos survived. Sorry, the Robos? I mean, the Robo did survive. Colossus survived. Immortals as well. The Robo army did make it out unscathed. Not even losing any hull damage. And now Oliveira's in a lot of trouble. He's on the back foot. Does have to take a defensive position. Getting ready to receive. And Mind Shot's going to be going off. So far, only on Zealots. And only on a handful of them. And now we can keep on pushing forward. Good target fighting on the Prism. Prism goes down, but it's not going to be enough. GG gets called. Classic overwhelms the army. And Classic will take game number 1. GG. Again, it was basically the turns were tabled or everything just turned on its head when Oliveira was caught out on that right-hand side. His goal there was just to be a presence on the map but not commit. He wasn't looking for a fight. He was picking off pylons. He was again trying to distract the army to allow his drop to come in. But Classic caught him. Classic, he caught the army off guard. The disables were too late. We already got like 2 or 3 swipes in before the Colossi were disabled, and yeah, Oliveira's army just melted before the might of Classic. Classic, from that moment, snowballed out of control. GG. And with that, Classic needs one more win here to advance on into the grand finals. Oliveira has to fight back here and now as we load into a very different map. We'll be loading in to Hardland. Here we go. Meanwhile, I believe Chicken Man is covering the upper semifinals. I believe he is on that Hero series, question mark. Let me just double check if Hero has an opponent yet. And how that is progressing. Otherwise, I believe Chicken Man is in the TvT. And, oh, there we go. We have confirmation. We have an update. Cure did take down Ryung 2-0. Cure avenging Beyond, taking him down. And Chicken Man is covering Hero versus Cure in the upper semis. And here we go. We're getting into game number 2 and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Hardland. We have the South Korean Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Twisted Minds. Leading the series 1-0. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player, the reigning world champion representing CranKy Gaming, going for a bit of a proxy. It is Oliveira. Here we go. No shot as the probe scout is coming in, and Classic, he comes across the proxy almost immediately, forces the cancel as well. A disastrous start for Oliveira. Thankfully, you know, the proxy was like almost halfway done. There wasn't too much progression on it, so didn't waste too much time, but this is the disastrous start. Does mean that the Rax is delayed, the would-be factory is delayed, the Reaper as well. Everything is going to be a little bit later here for Oliveira, as again, it is a double gas opener and is going for a delayed command center. Now, I'm curious, is this enough to force an all-in? I'm very curious here, because Oliveira has been known to all-in, to one-base all-in in TvP before, and he is set up for it if he does wall off, and if he does shoo away this probe, but probe gets in, probe does confirm the gases. It is going to be locked out of the main base. Factory is on the way. Classic is in the dark. So we'll see how committed Oliveira is going to be. We'll see how much he delays his expansion for. He should be going into a CC after this. That would make the most sense. But we'll keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, across the map, Classic getting into his gate cyber expand, feeling pretty good about his position. He knows that the Reaper is going to be delayed and he can just chill back at home. Just probing up and getting into his mid game. Meanwhile, back at home, there it is. CC is on the way. So Oliveira, he isn't doubling down, going like into a 1-1-1, into a starport or a second factory. We are expanding. Speaking of, there's that starport on the way. And a Classic 2 games in a row. We have our tech of choice, which is immediately scouted, by the way. Oliveira does see, does get eyes on the Stargate. Stargate has been spotted. So he's aware that Phoenixes should be on the way, or that Oracles are also a potentiality. It's going to be on this Reaper to go back in and to get eyes on the first unit of choice. As Oliveira does take a couple of hits to the face. But he will make it out. Barely make it out in the end. So we do have just a bit of map control here for Classic moving on forward. We have our unit. It is going to be a Phoenix, not an Oracle. So once again, Classic more concerned with map control than anything. Playing it out safely. Cyclone has been revealed. We do get a lock on. We don't quite get the Stalker, but we have the Reaper coming in from behind. We trade 2 for 1. Not a bad trade for Oliveira, but I'm sure he needed that Cyclone. He was going to go for a double Cyclone drop, and losing a Cyclone this early on is huge. Medevac has been spotted. Oliveira is going to be pushing. Back at home, Classic is getting in position, going for additional warp-ins. Robo's on the way. Once again, looks like Classic wants to go into Phoenix Colossus. So racing to those Colossi as quickly as he can. Army has been revealed, and Oliveira wants none of it. If he had his second Cyclone, then maybe he could try to push forward, but without it, he has to respect the army of Classic, and he backs off. And he did force an overreaction. He did force a shield battery and an extra wave of units, but Classic is now looking to expand. Now looking to take his third. So Classic is going for a bit of a counterattack. Does confirm that the army came back home. Does see the Cyclone, the Medevac, the Marines. So Classic should be feeling pretty safe about not just expanding, but also taking. And there it is. Bay is on the way. Now this Bay, I believe, is a little bit later than last game. I think we prioritized the Robotics Bay over the third in game 1, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, we're getting into the same structures, the same overall end game. Pieces are across the map. They get eyes on the production, they get eyes on the tank production. Taking some extra hits though, but it looks like we will get some SCVs. Oh, that's 3 SCVs going down for only a bit of hull damage. Across the map, we do have that Liberator sieging up the Natural. And Classic will recall back home. Does get her in time, does shut down that Liberator. Yeah, with that, I do want to say that Classic is in a more commanding position here. He's got a third, he's got good saturation, working towards his first Colossi. A stark difference here, actually, when it comes to the units that Oliveira has. He's building up a tank count, don't get me wrong, so he's working towards a big 2-base tank push. No Raven this time. No Raven, no Interference Matrix. It means that these Colossi are going to pose a bigger threat to Oliveira. There is no way to counteract them as well as we otherwise would have seen. Oh boy. That's Classic going for his own proxy across the map. Getting set up here on these 3 bases. Working towards his next step. Forge, Twilight Council. I imagine this is going to be for charge. Blink isn't going to be as necessary because of these Phoenixes, but we don't have that many of them, so yeah, we'll see what direction he goes in. And Oliveira still just building up that tank count. We have 3. We are soon to have 4. 4 tanks. Stim +1. It's time to move out. It's time to send everything across the map. A massive 2-base push here is going to be spotted by Classic. He does have the Observer in position. Does see the Medevacs. And Oliveira, he is so committed with this. Cutting workers early on. He has even pulled a couple of boys. It's all or nothing for Oliveira. But the Colossus, they do meet up with the army. They do force a siege, slowing this down. And Classic just has to buy time. The more often he can force a siege, the slower this army pushes. And the more warp-ins Classic has. As he's catching reinforcements. Decent force fields with the tank shots. Up. Big tank shots are going to be going off. Likewise across the map, where we do catch a tank as well. That's Oliveira, he's gaining ground. Oh my god, getting a lot of hits in on the Colossi. 1 Colossus goes down, and it looks like the second gets target fired. And Oliveira, he is breaking through. Good target firing here from those tanks. Breaks through the Colossus, gets towards that third. Charge isn't done. We need a little bit more time. Charge is not complete, and Oliveira, it looks like he has done it. He has broken the 3rd base, and he will be able to keep on pushing. There's nothing to slow him down. No more Colossi, no more Immortals. Again, Classic a little bit too cavalier with his army. He's coming with those chargelets, though. The tanks are on siege. Up. And it looks like we barely will get on top of the tanks. They do trade out, but they're still Marines. Marines are left over. We can stim on forward. And Oliveira, does he barely have enough? The force fields, they buy some time. The Colossus arrives. No shot. Colossus makes it out just in time. Classic still has a worker lead. He may have lost his base, but he didn't lose his workers. There's one tank left. Can Oliveira break him? There's no shield battery. The target firing. No shield battery, no overcharge. The boys are being pulled. The tank is going to go down. And Classic holds. That was a tight hold, though. And Oliveira was basically all in. There is no third TC. He's backing off. He's rebuilding. He's remaxing. Classic. Long distance mining. I worry for Classic, though. I worry that this second wave that will be coming is going to be too much. Oh, never mind, as Oliveira throws down his third. He is going to be calming down and backing up. Oh, there. So we had a line of turrets behind us. And we have to kind of take a moment here to take stock. One, Classic didn't retain a lot of his probes, true, but he had to pull the boys towards the end. And that meant that he lost his big worker advantage. Lost those 10 workers, his Colossus count was reset, his Immortal count was reset. I want to say that Oliveira is now in a better position. We have an even worker count plus mules. Oliveira has a better economy. When it comes to the army, he still has Liberators, tanks. The Libs and the Vikings, they're kind of the big win condition here for Oliveira. There is no answer for them. There is no answer. There's no Blink. There's very few Phoenixes. Liberators should be able to bully the ground army. So Oliveira has an advantage, but we'll see if Classic can make some magic happen. Specifically with Storm. With Storms, anything is possible. We could collapse on the army and have some really good connections. We could even try to go for some Storm Drop harass and try to cripple the economy. That's the biggest thing right now, is that Classic has to do something about the economy. But Oliveira is already pushing out. Classic needs time. Storm is not done. Storm just not done, and Oliveira, he's coming in with the second wave. May not have killed his opponent with the first attack, but did cripple him. And now we're here to finish the job, to clean up. Liberators leapfrogging forward, tank as well. Next is taking a lot of hits. We have to engage. Storm is done. We do pick up those tanks, just barely. Big storms on the army. Oh my god. And Classic, he breaks through the tank line. The storms are good enough. MVP Phoenixes as well. Crowd controlling those tanks. If we weren't able to lift up those tanks, we would have seen a very different fight. Classic, he is fighting back. Looking at the units here, he still has 4 High Templar. Needs more time, though, to gather up energy. Doesn't have storms yet. Oliveira does retreat. He's getting out of tank production into Widow Mines. We have 1 tank back at home. 4th CC on the way. Oliveira, the longer this goes on, I want to say the better this is for Oliveira. And yeah, Classic, he knows that. Classic, we should have seen a 4th by now. He can still throw it down, but we'll see if he goes for a warp in. Yeah, we have the warp in instead. Zealots, High Templar. Does catch the army. Getting a Marauder, getting 2. Not bad. Pushing on forward. We do have some ghosts. We do have EMPs. EMPs are available. Good splits. Colossi lagging behind a little bit. And do we have enough? Storms are looking okay on some of these Vikings, on some of the High Templar, on some of the Medivacs even. And Classic, it looks like he's barely breaking through. The boys have to be pulled into Colossus, into Archons. Ay, ay, ay. And Classic, he's pulling it off. Again, he was so committed. He was so all in with this attack, and he breaks through. 46 SCVs go down. Oliveira, he was working on his 4th. He was working on a longer game. Cancels the 4th. He needs the money. And Classic, he's done it. I wasn't sure if he could. I didn't think he could. I thought we were going to the ace match. GG gets called. Classic, able to counterattack, able to break Oliveira and take the series 2-0. GG. Oh my god. Against all odds. The most surprising thing was the attack, the second wave, when he was able to CC those tanks, storm the army, and break Oliveira then and there. Classic was suddenly back in this. As we saw, like, Oliveira still had a better economy, and he was working on a 4th. He was hoping to max out, but yeah, that was wild. GG, well played. Congratulations to Classic as he does advance on to the grand finals. My condolences to Oliveira. Again, he didn't have a bad showing here in game 2. It was so close yet so far. Wasn't able to pull it off. And with that, Classic is our first finalist. And we have yet to determine who faces him in those finals. Who is going to be there? Is it going to be Hero or Cure? Again, Chicken Man is covering. He's in game 1. Is now covering game number 1. And we are looking to get into game number 2. Once they wrap up.